Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Jana Jamuna Tira Bana Chari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Dattaprayeshu Bhagavatesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So Shruti Sagar Prabhu asked me to speak on cheating versus genuine living. The first three verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam sets the tone for the rest of the book. It starts with Janmadhya Asya Yataha Advayad Itaratascha Artheshu, and bear with me, okay, stay with me. Itaratascha Artheshu Abhigya Swarat Tene Brahmarigha Aditavaye Muhiyanti Yatsura Vinita 111. तेजो वारी मृदा यथा विनिमयो यत्र थी सर्गय अमृषा धामना स्वेना सदा निरस्तकुहकम सत्यम परम धीमहि. This is the first verse. धर्म स्प्रोज्झित कैतव अत्र निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वेद्यं वास्तवं वस्तु शुभधं तापत्रय उन्मूलनम. This is next verse 112. श्रीमद् भागवते महामुनि कृते किं वै परैर ईश्वरः सद्यो हृदि अवरुध्यते अत्र कृतिभिः श्रुति तत्क्षणात्. निमखम कल्पतरुर गलितं फलम. Next verse. शुकमुखाद अमृत द्रव संयुतम श्रीमद् भागवत रसमालयम मुहुरहो रसिक भुवि भावुकाः. These are the first three verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which invites the reader to think about what this is, why they are doing it, and what they will get out of it. So, first question, what is this? This is Satyam Param Dhimahi. Go back to 111. Satyam Param Dhimahi. Dhimahi means I meditate. Satyam means truth, and the Param is ultimate. I meditate on the ultimate truth. This is what Bhagavatam is about. The Bhagavatam is a meditation on the ultimate truth, the whole Bhagavatam. How do you meditate? Janmanti yasya yataha anvayad idaratascha. Janma adi. Janma means the creation of this existence. Adi means etc. Janma adi asya, of this, of whatever you see. Anvayad idarata, understanding it directly and indirectly. You know, sometimes you understand some things directly, right? Someone says, I love you, you say, oh, that's so sweet. But they may not say it, but they might do nice things for you. It's indirect understanding. Anvayad idaratascha. Artheshu avijja. About who? Somebody who is fully cognizant, avijja. Somebody who knows everything. And Swarat is fully independent. Then how do we get this knowledge? Tene Brahmarida Adi Kavai Muhyanti Yatsura. This knowledge was revealed in the heart of the first poet. Who is the first poet? Rama. Adi Kavaya Muhyanti Yat Suraya. Sura means divine beings. This knowledge is so divine that it bewilders even divine beings. Tejo vari mrida yatha vinimayo yatra tri sarga yamrisha. And here's the fun part. Okay, I'll get into some Sanskrit. Tejo vari mrida. Tejo means fire or heat. Vari is water or fluid. Mrida means earth or solid. Whatever you see around you is a combination of these three things: solid, fluid, and some amount of heat or passion or activity, right? You're watching a sunrise on a beautiful beach one morning. Have you seen that? Sunrise on a beach. What do you see? You see the ocean, Vari. You see the earth, Vida. You see the sun coming out, Teja. Right? So Teja, Vari, Vida. These three things, Vinimaya, exchange with each other. Yatra Tri Sarga, to create that reality around you, which is, you see an apostrophe there, Mrisha, Yatra Tri Sarga Yamrisha. So Sanskrit is a language where you can add words and play around with them and create double meanings. Amrisha means unreal and Risha means real. So these three things combine to make reality around you, which is both unreal and real at the same time. And if you look at the translation, Srila Prabhupada will say the world is unreal. And if you look at Jiva Goswami, he says the world is real. Both are true. Hamna Svena, by his own effulgence, Sada Nirasta Kuhakam, always casts away the fog of ignorance. Who is that? Satyam. Is that absolute truth, and I meditate on that absolute truth. Here is the fun with this first verse. Can we go back to the first three letters? Janma adi asya yata. Janma adi asya yato. It becomes after you do something called sandhi in Sanskrit. When you're adding a lot of words together, you lop off the ends of those words. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once spoke on this particular verse every day for 1 month. And he said, even then, you cannot fully explain the importance of this verse. So I could go on for 1 month just to cover Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And there are 30 more commentators before him on this verse. But I will tell you something very small which you might appreciate. Janma means birth or creation. The word Jan is cousins with the word Genesis. Have you heard of the word Genesis in the Bible? creation. Jan, Genesis, creation. Adi means etc. Asya, of this creation. So birth, etc. of this creation. Right? That's how the Bhagavatam starts. And everybody says it is about the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of this world and the universe. Where does all of this come from? Jiva Goswami says, actually, this is not about the universe. This whole verse is about Krishna's birth in Mathura. Janma. It's about Krishna being born in Mathura. Adi Asya, Krishna's activities as he's growing up. So the rest of the Bhagavatam, some people say, original commentators say that, hey, this is about creation, maintenance, and destruction of this world. Jiva Goswami says, no, it is about the birth, activities, and the glory of Sri Krishna. This is the first verse. Then the second verse of the Bhagavatam says, today what we are covering, Dharmas projita kaitava. Kaitava means cheating. And the word dharma is often translated as religion. But dharma means anything that holds. Okay? So the dharma of the sun is to shine. The dharma of water is to flow. What is the dharma of fans? What is the dharma of a university? Yes. What is the dharma of a living soul? Yeah, I know you know the answer, but there is something more to it. Dharma of any living entity, also known as Jaiva Dharma, which is a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Someday when you're advanced, you should read. Jaiva Dharma means dharma of the soul, which is to love and be loved through acts of service. If you love somebody and you say, I love you, it doesn't mean anything unless you offer loving service. Once you do something. And so that's why, before Valentine's Day, there is flowers and chocolate not on sale. It's overpriced at practically every store. Why? Because they expect if you're going to say somebody I love you, you're actually going to make the effort. Drop some cash, buy those things, then go offer it as gifts. So there are 6 things that one does in order to express love. Dadati, giving gifts. Pratigritnati, receiving gifts. Guhyam akhati prichati, to reveal one's heart in confidence, knowing that I will not be backstabbed. And therefore you need to choose the right people for that. And hearing other secrets in confidence and keeping those. Then feeding and accepting food in return. Like if a random person on the street gives you a chocolate bar for free, do you have some doubts in your mind whether you should have it or not? Oh, we devotees are doing it all the time. Right? Free cookies. Why? Because the moment you share food and you take that food and put it in your mouth, you're telling the other person, I trust you. Right? Exchange of food is the first principle of trust. And that is why Krishna lunch is so important. That they're practically getting this food for free, to be honest. It's the labor of love of all the volunteers in the Krishna house that allows you to share that prasad on campus for so cheap. It's nobody in Gainesville can beat you. And there are so many random people I keep meeting around the world. Whenever I say I'm from Gainesville, so Krishna lunch. And they know that I didn't have time to go to groceries. I didn't have the time to cook. Life was busy. These people fed us well for however long we were there. We were consistent. The food is good, but that exchange of food creates an impression on their mind that lasts for a long time. But remember, some people can use these same principles to exploit others. That is cheating. So I'm going to mention one story from the Bhagavatam to reflect on this verse. The story is coming up in chapter 13. And then mention 16 points very, very briefly that establishes what is dharma. Dharma is something that holds society together, your life together. And dharma, rakshati, rakshita. Can I hear this once from you? Dharma, rakshati, rakshita. Dharma, when protects, protects. When protected, protects. Dharma, when sustained, sustains. If you sustain dharma in your life, dharma will sustain you. What is dharma? Dharma is doing the right thing. As simple as that. Because it is our essential nature to do the right thing. What is doing that right thing? Well, here is part 2 about dharma. There is something called Sanatan Dharma. Have you heard of this term before? Sanatan Dharma. Anybody's never heard of this one? Sanatan Dharma. People translate Sanatan Dharma as eternal religion, calling Hinduism Sanatan Dharma. But it's much more than that. Sanatan means timeless. And in this context, Dharma means values. Okay? And here is how the Bhagavatam explains Dharma. Ready for this? Once upon a time, there was a king whose name was tested and passed. You know, you put some person, you know, through fire to try them out, and they come out, they emerge out successfully. So tested. Parikshit means tested and passed. So somebody who went through trials and tribulations and came out well. So this king, do you know about the story of Parikshit? The chef. So one way he used to manage and govern his country was to go incognito, that nobody would know it was him, and just to walk around different places, talk to people on the ground, right? There would be security, but nobody would know that there is security. You would just walk around like an ordinary person, just talk to people, see what's happening. And he would go and ask people, hey, what do you think about the king? And he would take feedback then. I wish that our contemporary politicians take a little note from that example. So in this way, when Parikshit Maharaj was traveling around the length and the breadth of the planet, in his own zone, in his own kingdom, he saw that a person has dressed up as him. He realized this is an impostor. And a crowd had gathered, and something terrible and cruel was happening. This man who was dressed as him tied a cow and a bull so that they couldn't escape, chopped off 3 of the legs of that bull, and that bull was writhing in pain. And while it was writhing in pain and all bloody, he was beating that bull up. And you know what he did? It was so cruel. He tied his partner, the cow, in front, just to watch his cruelty. And he was beating it, all bloody. Right? And Parikshit went there and says, what is going on? This person said, I am Parikshit. Okay. What are you doing? And he said, I can do whatever I want. I'm the king. You know, thank you, but I am Parikshit. And what is going on here? And he asks the cow and the bull. And here is where, you practically can think of the spirit of earth shape shifting, as in poetry, into the cow. And Parikshit realizes that this bull represents the timeless ethics, Sanatana Dharma. And the cow represents Mother Earth. And Kali, the person who was beating the bull black and blue, represents the spirit of the times. People are cruel. They take pleasure out of other people's pain. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, our mindset is such, paro sukhe dukhi sada mitha bhashi paro dukhe sukho, that from our childhood, our circumstances, whether we like it or not, exposes us to so much cruelty that we become desensitized. And we take pleasure in other people's failures and pain. And we take great misery. We feel sad when we see other people succeed. This is the nature of the world. So Parikshit Maharaj immediately stopped and understood that the bull represents dharma, and the four legs of the bull are four values, which are the pillars of dharma. I want you to repeat after me. These are important words. Satya. Satya means truth, honesty, truthfulness, honesty, integrity. Truthfulness, honesty, integrity. Satya. Saucha. Saucha means purity, hygiene, cleanliness. Tapa. Tapa means austerity, endurance, and resilience. And daya. Daya is empathy, compassion, kindness. These four, Satya, Saucha, Tapa, Daya. Can I hear you once? These four are the four legs of Dharma. Okay? Out of which, in this age, 3 legs have been cut. Daya or compassion is the most important pillar of Dharma. And in this age of Kali, that leg has been cut. When you have daya, you cannot be cruel to other entities. The lack of daya translates into eating meat, exploitation of others, wearing leather, things like that. So we devotees, we do not cause violence to others. That's we are practicing satya. Saucha is cleanliness, purity, hygiene. So just as satya is destroyed by meat eating, Saucha or cleanliness, purity, hygiene is destroyed by illicit sex. And I'll get to each one of them, because there is a lot of misunderstanding around the 4 regulative principles in our movement. And if you understand this early in your journey in Krishna consciousness, it will save you a lot of pain and trouble. So please bear with me. Tapa means endurance, temperance, austerity. Temperance, controlling yourself, is actually difficult. You want to have that extra scoop of dessert on a Friday or a Tuesday night Krishna House program, and you know that if you do this, you won't be able to wake up tomorrow. So you hold yourself back. That is austerity. All these kids going to school, they're so busy. They're getting an education. That's austerity. Anything good you do in the world will require some austerity. And gambling means not valuing your time or money destroys austerity. The intoxication also destroys austerity. If you take things that inebriate your mind, you will not be able to function. You see people who are, I see so many homeless people who are on meth. Not doing it. All they need is their daily fix. You cannot function in your human body with a clear mind if you are abusing substances. So meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. These four things destroy these four values. Meat eating destroys compassion, and sometimes they overlap. Intoxication destroys austerity, gambling destroys truthfulness, and illicit sex destroys cleanliness. And here is how you can remember the four regulative principles. When my daughter was 5 years old, I taught her. I said, here are four things I want you to do in life. You ready for this? I said, be honest. That is satya. Right? Be kind. That is daya. Be clean. That is saucha. And help others. That is tapa. The four pillars are a simple thing, actually. So when Prabhupada says, here are the four regulative principles, he is not giving you a spiritual principle. He is giving you something that will bring us to the human platform. These are the basic, the baseline for being human. That you are actually kind, you are clean, you are honest, and you help others. These are the four pillars of Dharma. And it is Sanatana because it doesn't just belong to Hinduism. You can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim, you can be a Buddhist, you can be an atheist, you can be a Jew, you can be a Rastafarian, you can be anything you want. These four principles apply. And these are timeless. It doesn't depend on your circumstances. Anybody can and everybody should at least maintain these basic human decency. Be kind, be clean, right? Help others and be honest. Right? Be human. Be human. This is the basis of this verse that we are studying. That Srimad Bhagavatam will not compromise by giving you something second class just because you like it. It is going to give you the unadulterated truth, irrespective of how you feel about it. You might take time to grow into it, but if you think rationally, the version and the vision of Srimad Bhagavatam in the way it describes life in an individual and a collective capacity and about the whole universe is the most responsible, the most reasonable, and practically the most sustainable understanding of reality. Nothing else compares. Practically, there are many other visions of reality, but once you start thinking about it, Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out they are homo and asampurna, which means you will find some logical problem with that and they will be incomplete. Bhagavatam has worked it out. It is a composite system which is responsible. When you have a vision of reality, it must be responsible. For example, when we say keep consuming, that's the end all and be all of life, that is irresponsible. Bhagavatam says no. Everything that you have must be used in divine service. It's not for your enjoyment. You don't own anything in this world. Other people will say, no, you do own things in this world. Maybe provisionally Bhagavatam says, but you really don't. So in the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'll give a little breakdown of the four regulative principles and why following those is actually practicing dharma. So a lot of devotees feel very thorny about meat eating because we come and we start becoming vegetarian and one day we find out that there are other religious and spiritual traditions that don't say anything about eating meat and they allow their followers to eat meat. So what kind of religions are these? Right? Have you had that question? Why do people Why do other religious and spiritual people who hold this high ground also go out and eat animals without any kind of remorse? How is that even possible? Huh? So the principle there is we must commit the minimum amount of violence possible to sustain our lives. This is the principle. The practice will change. For example, in the Bible, Hebrew Bible, which both Christians and Jews accept, in the first and second chapter of Genesis, God says two different things. In the first chapter, God offers non-animal entities as food for humans. Only in the second chapter, he says you can also have animals. So animals are a second choice for food. If you don't have anything else, then you might. Because agriculture takes effort. If you want to, like slaughter a bull and eat him up, roast, it just takes a day. To keep that bull takes a lifetime, and then you can use the bull to till the field. So agriculture is much more difficult, but it is much more civilized. Slaughtering is if you don't have any option, you slaughter, that's okay. So, for example, in Islam, when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gives the Quran to his followers, they are in the middle of a desert. Do you expect good grains and rice to grow in the middle of the desert? So he makes a provision for eating animals because there is no other option. But it is the minimum amount of violence committed. He says, if you take one life unnecessarily, it is against the wishes of Allah. You shouldn't hurt any life. So first of all, whatever we are eating, it has to be satya, earned honestly. If you steal lunch from your friend's lunchbox at school, you remain friends anymore. Huh? If you've been saving that gulab jamun on your plate, and I just take it, will you feel nice about it? It's on their plate. Too late. Right? If you uh, if you create violence, you steal stuff from the grocery store, unless it's a desperate situation, right? But you shouldn't. If you eat stolen food, if you eat stale food, it will somewhere come back to hurt you mentally and physically. So food has to be honestly procured. It has to be clean, saucha. Making food is tapa. You hear the grinder going on in the kitchen. Somebody is putting their labor. But most importantly, food has to be consumed as an act of compassion towards ourselves. And this is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that song. Sharira Vidyajal, we'll sing it sometime. Our body is a web of stuff we don't understand. And our tongue is our nemesis. You know what a nemesis is? Our tongue is our nemesis peddling contraband. It ties you and me in this ocean of misery. Krishna is kind. And to give us the power to conquer our tongue, he gives prasad. So it's not ordinary food. That is being compassionate to ourselves. So food has to be honest, it has to be clean, it has to be earned, prepared, offered, and it has to be done with compassion. Same thing with our sex life. I know this is controversial, but I'm going to say it. People have a lot of confusion in the Krishna consciousness movement. We are taught to think in very black and white terms, good, bad. And especially when the dominant culture says anything that is of the flesh is bad. It's very difficult to have a sane perspective on human sexuality. But it is important to have it. Bless you. There is licit sex and illicit sex. Illicit sex means the lack of the four values of Dharma. And Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 11, Dharma aviruddha kamo asmi. That I am sex, that is not against the principles of Dharma, that ain't against Dharma. What does that mean? Just to be honest, are you manipulating? Are you dishonest? Ask yourself first. Are you irresponsible? The Bhagavatam is not against sex. The Bhagavatam is against irresponsible sex, dishonest sex. Saucha, is it clean? Is it hygienic? Are you spreading disease? Very important, you know. I mean, you don't have to be a devotee to understand this. It's just common sense. Is it? And you know, even if you're not a devotee, if you're going out on a date night, you probably not eat onion and garlic. Because your mouth is going to smell. It's the same logic in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, that if you are going up on the altar and you're serving Radha and Krishna, your meditation should be, how do I prepare myself best? And you don't want your mouth to smell. So, is it clean? Is it hygienic? Third is tapa. Did I earn it? Do I deserve it? Is it consensual? But most importantly, daya, compassion. Am I doing it simply out of impulse? Or is there compassion for the other person? Am I seeing their comfort, their value? Bless you, whoever that is. So these four. There is satya, socha, tapa, and daya in illicit sex that defines the difference between illicit sex and licit sex. And Sri Krishna says that, you know, whatever wonders you experience in this universe, that's me. If you look at the peak of the Himalayas and you are awestruck in wonder, that's me. You experience something as simple as the taste of water, that's me. When you start learning the alphabet, the first alphabet you learn, A, is me. And when you understand the mother of all sounds, Om, what you find is me. I am the string on which this universe stands. It's strung together. And all you see is just a spark of my splendor. Of Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of elephants, I am Airavata. I am all things beautiful. I am the strength of the strong. And I am sex, which isn't against Dharma. So that sexual experience is a divine experience, which is Krishna himself, if it is done in Dharma. Yeah? Same thing applies to gambling. At any given moment, you are actually gambling. Right now, as you sit in this room, you are gambling with your time and your life. You could have been earning money, building a financial portfolio, getting your degrees, but you chose to come here and spend some of the best hours of your day and your life hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, I cannot tell you how blessed you are, but I'm playing the devil's advocate here. You could have been sleeping in. The rest of the town is either at work, or if they start work a little later, they're getting an extra couple of hours, which they feel good about. But here you are, in this room, since what time in the morning? 5 a.m. club. It's, when I was living in certain ashrams, I used to wonder, why the heck am I here? In the morning, singing with all these people every single day. What's going on? You must ask that. Well, please. At any given moment, you're gambling with your time and your resources. You are putting the best bet that you think is good for you. There is one kind of gambling where you think that, you know what, I'm going to get lucky, I'm going to stake everything. And you're dishonest with yourself about what resources you will need later. You wager all your time and your resources now against a future that you don't know anything about. That is dishonest with yourself. If you are not maintaining proper accounts, you are unclean with your money. Saucha applies to money also. If you're always taking shortcuts and taking the easier path out, it is a lack of austerity in gambling. But most importantly, when you're spending your time, you're wagering your time, and you're not doing it out of compassion. What the heck are you doing here on this planet? Go find planet B. There's no planet. But you see what I'm saying? On the other hand, the Bhagavatam points out that if you wager your time for Krishna, you will not regret it. If you're betting on Krishna's side, if you're betting on God's side, and and that bet has a certain amount of honesty. You cannot be dishonest with yourself, and most of all, you cannot be dishonest with God. It doesn't work. If you are betting your time and your money in a clean way, that I earned it and I want to give. If you are doing it out of compassion for others, then you are betting your time and your money right. Otherwise, if there is no divinity, it is gambling. If there is divinity involved, it is investment. There is a difference. You understand? And then the fourth one is intoxication. This is an important point because a lot of devotees get confused between the two ideas of intoxication and addiction. So sugar is intoxication in a way. So sugar is an intoxicant. There is a certain amount of toxicity in sugar. Intoxic. It's toxic in intoxicants. If you drink 3 gallons of water, straight away you're going to die. You know this? Don't try this in Krishna house. But if you keep drinking water, your bodily system is going to push a lot of water in your head, your brain will try to explode, and the brain won't be able to explode, and you will die from brain failure. Ask any medical doctor, they will tell you. Some very intelligent college kid did that. They just had a chug, and they just drank too much and they died. I've been a college professor. I've seen everything. Just what? Yeah. I've seen everything. Some of my students, right before exam, came and says, like, somebody's missing. I said, what happened? Said they had a party. Okay. All these kids brought all the medications they could from all their parents' cabinets. They poured everything in a bowl. They mixed it up. They drank it with water and then just waited to see what happens. Yeah. Play stupid games, stupid prices. Everybody went scot-free, but that one person had to go to the emergency. And everyone was like excited that he has a story to tell. Like, are you kidding me? Another time a student comes to me. He's not at this university, not to where, but this is in Chicago. 3 days after their final paper is due, I get a long email, which is probably as long as the paper should have been. And this is what the email says. It says, I was DJing at a frat party, and the second floor of that house was under construction. Somebody tried doing something there, and the house caught fire. And I tried to douse that fire with a pipe, and the pipe went through my hand. Some metal pipe went through his hand. And I had to go to the emergency. And my computer with $1,000 worth of songs got stolen, and therefore the frat boys are now raising funds to buy me a computer. and I will write my paper when I get it, and I'm just sending you a little letter from the school computer, and I'm sitting there and reading this with exasperation, thinking that, dude, first of all, you're writing this letter from a school computer, you can read your paper from a school computer. Don't give me excuses. And that letter was so gory, and then, this guy is trolling me. I could see it. Just having fun with the professor, seeing how I react. Right? So, as I say, I have experienced quite a bit in life. But if you think about it, you lose respect for people when they're not being honest, they're not being kind, they're not being clean, they're not helping others. It's as simple as that. And when you become Krishna conscious, you are carrying a big weight on your shoulders. You are now representing Krishna to the world. It's no longer just about you. People will judge an entire nation of 1.4 billion people. The sanctity of a 5,000-year-old tradition based on how you deal with them. And so even if you're super upset that this guy or girl is being a prick, it is your prerogative to remember, if I was in my police uniform and if you were a police, then maybe you would call for backup. But now if you are a devotee, and you're very Tulsi, or if somewhere you are representing Krishna, the weight of the tradition is behind you. And it is not something to play with. Because how you treat that one person in that difficult circumstance is going to decide what they feel about Krishna for the rest of their lifetime in this life. And therefore, if you are very clear that I am not here to exploit you, take advantage of you, cheat you in any way. Dharma projita kaitava. Projita means give up. Kaitava means any kind of manipulative, duplicate, scheming ideas that, and have integrity. When you start dealing with people with integrity, satya, with being clean, not just physically, but in your dealings, saucha, you're putting in your bit, you're putting in some effort, tapa, and you're doing it from the genuine goodness of your heart, knowing that, being kind to this person is actually being kind to us. We should treat others as we wish others to treat us. It's a very basic, simple principle that is there in every world's religion. There was one ancient Jewish rabbi. It's a Jewish story. I have so many Vaishnavas from Jewish background, I practically call myself a Hindu. Back in the day, there's this Jewish rabbi whose name is, I forget, Rabbi Hillel. And in the Judaic tradition, they say you cannot convert to Judaism, but that's not actually true. In the ancient world, you could go to a rabbi and you could ask to become a student. That's the only way you can become a Jew. You have to become a student. And then you have to accept the 10 commandments of God and the 26 laws that God has given you, and you follow that. And the way to studentship is that rabbi is going to reject you 3 times at least. So the way to becoming a student is to go from place to place and get rejected first. Doesn't that sound like distribution? So you're not alone. So these people, they were going around different rabbis. They didn't want to become students. They were just trolling them. So So they went to this rabbi called Rabbi Hillel and says, Rabbi Hillel, we want to become your students, we want to become Jews. And Rabbi Hillel said, go away. He said, no, 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 listen to me, listen to me. We will only become students of that rabbi who can teach us the entire Torah standing on one leg. Okay? So Rabbi Hillel understood he was getting trolled. This is what he did. You know what he did? He stood up, then he stood in a yogic pose on one leg and said, do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. This is before Jesus. Remember, Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. And he taught everybody this very basic principle from the Torah. Do not do unto others, said the Torah, as you wish them not to do to you. Don't treat others if you don't like to be treated that way. This is the mother of all religions. If you have an inebriated roommate who is constantly high, would you like it? Don't be that roommate. You know those memes, don't be Billy? Have you seen those memes? I've read about those. Bill does this, and don't be like Bill. Don't be like Bill. Then, if you do not want to get slaughtered and eaten, when there are other options, don't slaughter and eat. If you do not like to be exploited sexually, if you do not like to be hit on randomly, don't do it. And if you want to be treated kindly with respect, do that. It's as simple. So this is the soul of the four regulative principles. This is dharma. But the four regulative principles is the platform on which the rest of dharma survives. What is the other part of dharma? I'll finish with this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says there is Nitya Dharma and Naimittika Dharma. This is the beginning of his book, Deva. Nitya Dharma means timeless Dharma, and Naimittika Dharma means relative Dharma. That you must get up, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, wear proper clothes before you get out and show your face to others. You don't walk around in your periods. Right? You take care of your parents, you go to school, you pay your taxes, you make sure that the space you live in is clean, you treat your friends and well-wishers with politeness and kindness. These are external dharmas. But these are not timeless dharma. The timeless dharma is the nature of your soul. It is to love and be loved in service. As simple as love and be loved in service. Can I hear that once from you? That is Jaiva Dharma. And the Vedas, the most ancient literatures that we have, coming from Bharata, there is one concept called Rita. R-T-A. Not Regional Transport Authority. Rita. Rita in Sanskrit means rightness. R-I-G-H-T-N-E-S. Rightness. Rita is order. Rita is which allows dharma to function. There is a certain balance and rightness in everything in this universe. And that is what dharma will return to, even if it is messed up for something. Dharma is this thing that holds everything together, and it returns to balance again and again. And sometimes it returns to balance by the effort of God Himself, and sometimes by the effort of God's devils. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his commentary, Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya च दुष्कृतम dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. It says this, that whenever and wherever there is a decline of dharma and a rise of adharma, anti-dharma, I manifest myself to protect the virtuous and to destroy the vicious. I do it time and again. These are called avatars. Avatar is a new word. It comes from the Sanskrit avatar. And the Srimad Bhagavatam talks about how Lord appears as avatar time and again to set things right, to make dharma available. All right, we'll stop here. Questions, comments, thoughts, realization? Yes. What time do you stop? In 3 minutes or in 15 minutes? I don't know. Oh, stop 10 minutes ago? I didn't know that. Okay.
I've always had this question, especially while studying Bhakti Yoga and trying to practice Krishna consciousness and understanding devotees and how compassionate they are, and how much of material engagements that are normal for everybody, that we abstain from. But my question is like, how would you convince or explain the importance of practicing these principles that we talked about today in this lecture to somebody who is materially successful by doing the opposite things?
Very, very, very powerful question. There are a lot of people who do all kinds of, cruel things. They cheat, they lie, they steal, and they are very successful and powerful in the world. But my friend, these are tyrants, and tyrants always fall. Okay? They cannot first be in that situation and have mental peace. Somewhere it is going to gnaw in. Right? Somewhere they're going to have bad dreams against. Because that's the constitution of the human nature. If you're killing during the day and you think it's everything's all right, wait till you fall asleep. Nature is going to take her course. And I've seen so many people, who are there, like just as you described, very powerful, very influential, ruthless. Sometimes when they come across Krishna consciousness, they feel, they realize they've been missing something in life. In my short incident, in my neighborhood in Calcutta, there is a building developer who's committed at least 15, 20 murders, taken over people's lives. And I met one very senior Vaishnava recently. We live in the same neighborhood. And my mother and he were talking, and they found out that we were in the same neighborhood in Calcutta. And my mother said, this person has committed so many murders and he's gone scot-free because he has political connections. And then this Vaishnava said, yes, it is very true. But have you seen him recently? And he says, no. And he said that this person has given up all of these criminal activities. He doesn't even start to meet now. And that is the power of bhakti. It transforms you. So there, another incident, the president or the former president of Radha Kalachandji in Dallas, Nityananda Prabhu. He was a politician's son. And when Krishna consciousness first appeared in Fiji, Ramakrishna Goswami, my spiritual master, was the main driving force. He filed 22 lawsuits against Gurudev. He wanted devotees out of Fiji, not only Gurudev. And in 2012, about 12 years back, we sat down in Dallas and I said, Prabhu, tell me a story. And he said, I had filed 22 lawsuits against Krishna Goswami. And I was the I think he was like a minister's son. I wanted these people out. And we were politicians. We had everything. We knew how to get things done. And he says, how did things change? Do you want to listen to the story? Are you getting it? And he said, when the trials were going on, Krishna Goswami walked into my office one day and asked me, you're a businessman and a politician, right? I said, yes. He said, can you give me your daily routine? So I wrote everything down. And he looked at it, he flipped the paper, and he rewrote my routine. And he said, you are very inefficient. Mind you, these are adversaries in court. And he said, you are very inefficient. If you change your routine this way, you will actually become more efficient with your time. Try it out. So he had never seen somebody who is fighting a case against or lawsuits against come and give him such voluntary advice. And then he said, I challenge you. I said, I want you to follow this routine. And I challenge you that for 1 month, you must wake up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, must chant 16 rounds. You must offer every meal to Krishna. You will fast for 2 days on Ekadashis. And you will read Prabhupada's books for at least an hour and a half every single day. And if after 1 month it doesn't transform you, please continue with your lawsuits. But if it changes you, you promise me you're going to withdraw the lawsuits and do defense. So this was what Krishna Goswami was like. And so Nityananda Prabhu said, challenge accepted. He wasn't Nityananda Prabhu. He said, challenge accepted. For 1 month, he did what his opponent in court. He was the plaintiff and TKD was the defendant. What the defendant in court asked him to do. He changed his routine. It's a 1 month experiment. He chanted 16 rounds every day. And after 1 month, Gurudev came back and said, what do you think? And he said, actually, you're right. I've never felt happier in my life. I've never felt happier in my life. And so he withdrew those lawsuits and he became his disciple. And Krishna Maharaj knew exactly how to engage him. So he brought him to Dallas and he said, I'm building a community here. I want you to lead this community. He grew in leaps and bounds. And today you have a Krishna house there too. That is how that story starts. And this is I have seen these kind of miracles in front of my eyes. Right? Again, to your point, Krishna Maharaj was sitting in my living room in Calcutta, about this size. And people were coming in and out to see him. And there is one family that came in, parents, 2 children. And as they walked in the door, Gurudev looked at these people, and within 1 minute, I was there. Within 1 minute, he looked at this girl who was like 14 or 15 and said, Tina, you watch too much television. And I'm wondering, how does he know? And his parents' jaw dropped because that is the most difficult thing to experience at home. He's a TV addict. Parents knew. But how did he know? And then he turned to the parents and said, you are at fault. Okay? And if you want to understand TKG, go to YouTube and watch this video called God, Demigod, and Incarnations. You will get a sense of what he was like. And our Prabhu knows, he's met him, right? And so I'm sitting there and it's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. These people are my guests. Don't do this. And he turns to the parents and says, I want you to go home tonight. Okay, this is happening in my living room. I want you to go home tonight, throw away all your utensils. Imagine somebody's like, just throw away all your utensils. Tomorrow you're going to get fresh ones. And then whatever you cook, you're going to cook for Krishna. You're going to chant 16 rounds every day. And I will come back in 6 months and I will initiate you. I hadn't seen anything like this before. So I was very curious. So I called this guy the next day and said, did you finish throw away those utensils? And he said, yes. Something happened. He just, he just went home. They didn't know what they were doing. Just went straight to the kitchen, packed up all the utensils, gave it away. Like, no more meat in this kitchen. Right? Next day, they put a picture of Krishna there. Got new utensils to cook for Krishna. And they started eating prasad and started chanting. And this was in July, I still remember the date, 24th July 2001. And then he was back in March 2002. And these two brothers and sisters, they were very young, 17, 18, like that. They got initiated. 6 months later, they were chanting, they were disciples. I don't know how that happened. So a lot of people do a lot of things, they're successful, they're pretty set in life. And then one of two things happen. Either they face adversity, where then they seek shelter, and when they seek shelter, something good happens, or they get mercy like this. So Krishna just appears in the form of his empowered devotee and scoops them out of material existence, just like that. And this verse talks about this. The moment you become desirous, Krishna gets captured in your heart immediately. I have one more point to say. I'm itching to say this. Today morning when I woke up, my mother came to me and said, last night I had a dream about Prabhupada. Okay. And she said some things. There's one thing that stuck. Prabhupada said, I'm at Krishna house. Okay, I said, I'm going there to give a talk there. He said, and she said, yes, I know. He also said, I'll be hearing you. So I have my mother's, kind of, I don't know how to put it. Not even confirmation morning. Prabhupada is there and he's watching you. I was even to say that. No, I'm done. It was very strange, wake up this morning and I was getting ready. And Prabhupada is there in Krishna house. I'm going to speak there. So yes, he also said. I hope I will do justice.